Hi, I'm Jamin Collar, and today I'm going to help you with the intervals section. You know, there are a lot of people who can just hear a song on the internet or on the radio and then just sit down and play it. They already know what the notes are. Unfortunately, that's not a skill that you're born with in most cases. That's a skill that you can train yourself to. We keep going back to the language analogy, as if music is its own language, and it's kind of the same thing. Once you get familiar with the language, you can hear something that someone says and then pretty much say almost word for word what they said, as long as it's short enough. So that's what we're going to work on, is recognizing some of the little pieces of vocabulary that people use in music, so that you can recognize those and sit down and play them back because you understand them better. So let's get started. So when you hear a song, what you need to do is break it down. Instead of these big long phrases or a whole song, you want to break it down into just a couple notes and hear just these little pieces at a time. And these little pieces use what are called intervals. An interval is just the distance between two notes. So, you know, from here to here, that's the same note. That's called an octave. From here to here, that's an interval. From here to here, that's an interval. So when you hear a song like maybe, and you want to sit down and play it, what you need to hear is those two notes, and then just kind of know what the distance is between those two. It's not as hard as it sounds. This one right here, in fact, this distance is called a perfect fourth, and a perfect fourth is always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half steps, or sometimes they're called semitones. It's the shortest distance you can go. 5 half steps away. So from here to here is a perfect fourth, because starting at this note we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a perfect fourth. Same thing happens if we go down from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The distance is 5 half steps or 5 semitones. So this one right here is a perfect fourth. And so when you hear this, it sounds kind of the same here as it does over here. If we go from this note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can hear both of those intervals kind of have the same sound to them, the same feel to them, because it's the same distance. So that's what we're really talking about when we talk about intervals, is the distance between two notes. Now, if we take that same interval, that perfect fourth, from here, C to F, again, that's the same distance as, like, let's say C down to G, because they're both using 5 semitones or 5 half steps. From here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see that's 5 half steps between here and here. So either here or from here. That one sounds like the Here Comes the Bride song if you go up, from here up. But if you go from here down, it doesn't really sound like that song anymore. It doesn't sound like Here Comes the Bride at all. So we kind of have to memorize these intervals both going up and going down. So this one right here is used in all kinds of songs everywhere. Some of the more popular ones are like I've Been Working on the Railroad. So you can hear that song starts with this. That right there. So a good way to practice this is to pick out two notes that you know are the correct distance, in this case 5 semitones apart, and then just play those back and forth and try to hear the song in your head. So, for example, and what you want to hear in your head is, or going the other direction, going up, it should sound like Here Comes the Bride. And hopefully in your head you're able to like hear the rest of that song. So another example would be, so hopefully in your head you can hear, and then going down, of course, and what you want to hear in your head, the rest of that song. So then, using that worksheet that you have, you can practice listening to any of the intervals, and once you kind of get them all down, then you can hear any interval, and that means that you can hear any set of notes, because they're all just made up of these smaller sections of intervals, and then you can pick out any song you want to. So let's try putting this into practice. I've turned off the keyboards, so you're just listening now, and let's say you heard this song. just heard it on the radio and you want to try to play it. So, of course, as I said before, you want to just break that down into little segments. So, listening to those notes, we want to hear just the first two notes. So, you're going to hear, and just listen to those. Now, of course, the context is, but really you just want to hear those first two notes and say, what does that sound like? What song does that sound like? And hopefully you recognize it as. And so you know that that first interval is a fourth between C and F. Those are the first two notes. You can start it on any note and just go up 5 half steps or 5 semitones, as we talked about before. And those would be your first two notes of the song. Then we want to hear the next two notes. So we know that's a perfect fourth, and we want to hear. So those second two notes, and hopefully you recognize that as. So that one also is a perfect fourth. So this song starts off with 2 perfect fourths in a row, from here to here, and from here to here. And that's the beginning of the song. Now, we've got, of course, a bunch of other intervals coming up after that, and it might seem like that's going to take you a long time to be able to do that for all of the notes of the song, because it's a pretty long song or whatever, but with a little bit of practice, with a lot of practice, you can get used to hearing all of the intervals, and then you'll be able to pick out any song you want and just listen to it and kind of know already, all right, it's this interval, then this interval, and I jump this much, and you'll see a lot of repetition in songs, so you'll be able to pick out patterns pretty quickly and stuff, and you'll make a lot of progress, I think, if you just give it a try and practice your listening to your intervals. And that's how to hear and recognize intervals. Have fun. Good luck.